You suck, you tried that last time and it didn't work. Because we got those voices too, right? So it's whose voice is louder? Who are we going to turn down? Who are we going to turn up? Anything less than your highest will always contain self-sabotage. I walked out of my bedroom one day and walked into my living room, and there were these two ginormous beings in there that rocked my world to the core of my cells. Like I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And then I was also, oh man, I'm getting emotional. I'm just so thankful.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Shifting Dimensions podcast, where we explore the unseen, the unknown, and the transformative moments that shift our understanding of reality. I'm your host, Jummie Moses, spiritual seeker and metaphysical investigator, exploring the mysteries of existence. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehon. Dr. Sharnael is a visionary healer who merges naturopathic medicine, spirituality, and quantum science to guide others toward wholeness. As the founder of Dr. Sharnael True TV and author of 5 transformative books, including The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love, she offers profound insights on health, consciousness, and human potential. Dr. Sharnael, welcome to Shifting Dimensions. It is such a pleasure to have you here.
How's it going? Very, very honored to be with you guys today. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Prior to us starting the show, I was letting you know how much I really enjoyed your book, and I can't wait to dive into all of it because I think some of the insights you share, people have said it in different ways, but I really resonated with the way you spoke about the power within, the power of being truthful and living a life of truth, and so much more. So, first, I want to start off with what I would call, and let me know if I'm wrong, your spiritual awakening. I think it was 2008 or 2009. You had a series of health issues that led you down this path that you're currently on. Could you please speak to that?
Yeah, I wasn't just going through the health issues, but I had been going through health issues for 7 years, and you read my book, so you've heard it all. But for those who aren't aware, I was also having really bad partnership issues. Got my PhD in picking assholes, so that's fun. And that's in the past. That was going on. I was in the middle of a breakup with the father of my kids. And that was super painful, to be honest. Even the best of divorces can be terrible. And then because of the divorce and because I was in that spiritual organized system at the time, it was really frowned upon to be a woman in ministry at the minute, but then also to be a divorced woman in ministry. That was like I basically lost my job in many ways because we were on television and we lost all our contracts and just got the boot, which to be looking back was the best thing ever because it really had me take a deep dive into what I actually believe. And I never there were always some things within the organized religion that really I didn't align with anyway, but I thought that that was my only path to service. And this just gave me the little push that I needed to explore other avenues of ways to serve and to love people and to help people awaken without the confines and the limits and the manipulation and the control and the money and just all the stuff that gender shaming and it was just weird. And if that is anybody's path, awesome, no judgment, have a good time. And that's just not where I am right now. And maybe one day I'll go back, or maybe one day I'm doing something else. Like I keep everything really loose at this point because I spent a lot of time in my life being wrong and being really stubborn about thinking I was right and was absolutely wrong 100%. Again, looking back with health issues, with patterns of really abusive partners and just graduating from one worse to the next and then losing my job. I was at a rock bottom on so many levels that I was really, really seeking. I was doing what I knew at the time to use the tools to connect with God, which that sounds just funny now because it's like, how do you connect with what's already inside of you? But I saw everything really separate at that time. That was the program. That was what I was taught is God's out there, up there, somewhere, everywhere but here. And now I understand that God is in our very cells. Like, how do you separate that? The only thing that separates us is our own lack of love for us and God who's already inside and some of these programs. So in my seeking, the tools that I had at the time were like tremendous amounts of meditation, prayer, fasting, really seeking God. I say that now, like I said, how do you seek what's in within? But that was what my language was. And I walked out of my bedroom one day and walked into my living room, and there were these two ginormous beings in there that rocked my world to the core of my cells. Like I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And then I was also, oh man, I'm getting emotional. I'm just so thankful for whatever that was.
Yeah, I'll give you a moment because I also heard these emotions that you're having right now. When I was listening to your book, the audio version of your book, I also heard these emotions come out of you. And you said that every single time you talk about that mystical experience that you had, it makes you emotional. And I want to talk a little bit more about it if you have the capacity. If it's too emotional to talk about, we can talk around it. Just let me know whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, the emotion isn't sad. It's more just so grateful. And when I do talk about them, I feel it as if it's happening. Like I relive it, and that's not a bad thing. What I call it is love leaks. It's like I feel so loved and so much gratitude about them and what happened that literally I start to feel it come out of my body, like in liquid form. So it's not like painful to talk about. It's just I do feel that in my heart as if
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But basically they just had a lot of things to say to help me in the midst to not feel alone. And even though they were terrifying and I was like thought I would die when it happened, there was also a sense of curiosity, a sense of ease, a sense of love. And I mean, immediately one of the first things they said was don't be afraid. And it wasn't with words, but it was just like I heard it in my head. And I was like, that kind of shocked me. And like all the conversations were within our heads or telepathic, I know now. And apparently that's common. But the thing that I took away from that, I mean, there's so many things, but I was shown a lot of books and different records of people who were healed of different things in different ways. And I knew there was an invitation to somehow be a part of that. I knew that was some sort of offering to a path that I could take. And I did choose. I asked, can I do this? Can I do this with you? And they were like, yeah. And but the one of the things that there was a woman looking one and a male looking one, and the female-ish one, she got really stern and like serious with me, and she pointed at me and she said, tell them they're not truly living unless they're living true. And that still echoes like in my body when I say it, because I know there's so many layers to it, so many levels of weight to that. And it means everything that we do, like all the things, whether what you eat or drink or where you go, who you hang out with, who you're married to, where you live, like everything. I mean, it's your entire life, every breath, every whiff of listening to your heart and doing. those things in action, despite what anyone says or does or thinks, and just being true to what you feel that voice is saying, no matter what. And that has sort of become, that has been my mission from that point on, is just helping remind other people to follow that voice.
So just to make sure I fully understand, because that was a very powerful statement. And I believe that the female-ish looking being that you're talking about who said you're not truly living unless you're living true, her name was True. That's what you heard when you were speaking with her, correct?
Yes.
Which is very fascinating and adds really to the depth of what she's saying. So what I'm understanding, and as I was listening to your book, what I got from it is that in order to live true, which you just described, it's the merging of your authentic feelings and what you desire to do with your actions. So, for example, just to give a very simple perspective, is if you ask me what I want to go eat, and I know you like Italian food, but I'm craving Chinese. If I say, oh, yes, let's get Italian, that's not living in my truth. That's not living in truth because I know in my soul, in my spirit, I do want Chinese food, but my actions or my words are not aligning with my true feelings.
Yep. All the way down to even what grocery store you go to. Maybe it's different every time, what time you go. Do you call your grandmother? What school do you go to? Where do you live? Yeah, like little to the biggest thing you could possibly imagine. Not,
When you say like down to the grocery store you go to, does that also mean, for example, if you're going to Giant, but you really want to go to Aldi's?
yeah,
Is it that simple?
or maybe you go to Aldi's all the time. And that's your normal every Monday night or every Sunday night. You go weekly, but then one Wednesday morning you just get an impression or like a voice or something saying like, "Hey, go to Rouse's today right after lunch." And you're like, "Why?" And you just sit there wondering, "Okay, I don't really need anything, but I guess I could go get milk or cream or coffee or whatever." Those little hints. And then you go and it's like a treasure hunt. Like sometimes it's like I have no idea why I'm going or why I'm changing up my normal pattern. And sometimes I find out and it's really obvious and it's, whoa, thank you. That was so cool. And then sometimes you don't find out till a year later and you went and it was like really like celebrated or just super boring, or you're just like go home shaking your head like what was that about? And then a year later somebody ran into that moment a year ago, invited you to some other thing that opened the door for 29 things for you. And you're like, oh, no wonder I went to that thing that seemed so uneventful, but it was actually the biggest thing for my whole future just because I was listening. And I've had that happen. I went to a conference one time, pregnant, not feeling well, super nauseous. It was in Kansas City. I didn't know anyone there. I wasn't speaking, so it wasn't, I was gonna have to pay to go. It wasn't like I was the speaker. And it made no sense. I didn't really know anybody except for a couple people who were speaking there, and I didn't know them very well. I would have had to take my 3-year-old with me, which is not convenient at all. Being pregnant 5 months and having a baby and being sick, nauseous. But I went, and the whole time I was miserable. They put me up in this bunk bed teenager situation, hosting me there, and it was loud. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I cried mostly because I was like, why am I here? I want to go home. I don't feel good, and it's too loud, and I'm so tired. And I did meet a few people, but I literally was on the plane crying all the way home, going, what the hell was that? Like, why? And I just had to, I didn't have to, but I trusted. I was like, whatever, one day I'll know. And about a few months later, I got a phone call from one of the people that I met who was sitting behind me most of the time of the meeting. And she said, hey, remember when you told me that encounter that you had with this, this, and this? I have a lady who has this television show and she had a similar thing. She wants to meet with you. Will you come? She'll fly you up to Idaho and she wants to meet with you. And I'm like, I don't know this lady. I don't know anything about TV. I didn't know what this was about. Seemed really weird. But I was like, okay, sure. And she was paying for everything. I get up there. They gave me the red carpet treatment. Met with this woman, talked to her, went to the meeting that night. She had me on the second row. She literally called me up in front of everybody, ordained me in full-time ministry. Like basically put me out there in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. I came home and had an answering machine full of people saying, "Hey, will you come speak at this event, this event, this event?" And it like really became my career. Even after I had left seminary and was told to leave seminary, and I thought I had to go to seminary to do this career, and but listening again, left for this. So that's isn't that something?
That is amazing. I love synchronicities like that. So again, using truth in this context, you're talking about also following your highest guidance in the moment and not necessarily questioning it, right? Because I think a lot of times, to your point, when you went to this event, multi-day event, heavily pregnant, and it wasn't a good experience while you were there because you were very uncomfortable, you kept thinking, why am I here? And then not moments later, but a while later, it leads to this great opportunity that you eventually have. And just to be clear, that what you're talking about happened prior to your awakening, correct? This was when you were in ministry.
That was 2004.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Just want to make it clear for the
So that
timeline for
was
the listeners.
yeah, so that was prior to the 2008 account with the
Hmm.
two beings. But I had other weird stuff that happened, not with those two beings, but with other stuff for sure.
Yeah. So while you were in the office with the doctor that you saw that while you were in that session led to an epiphany for you, which is you say, I teach the blessings of God's love to so many, and yet I have no real love for myself. Could you expand on the not having real love for yourself? And this was even before you met the beings in your living room.
It was a little bit before that. It was around the same time, maybe a month or so before that. But yeah, so I was in full-time ministry. And going back to the whole living true thing, I do want to say anything less than your highest will always contain self-sabotage. Always. S- So if you follow your heart, which is right here, seek ye first the kingdom, and then all these things will be added unto you. What that says to me is I have one job, and that is to follow my heart. If I follow my heart, everything falls into place. I'm sponsored. I have grace for it. If I take the lower, less road that isn't my highest, it will always contain self-sabotage and I will live with the consequences in one way or another and won't get the path to that could be my highest timeline. But going back to the doctor, I was very, very ill, was still seeking, and I was actually teaching a conference in Mississippi on dreams and visions, one of my favorite topics. And they kept encouraging me to go see this doctor. And I was over doctors because I had been to a bunch and I was not getting a lot of help in the Western model. Not no judgment, but I had been 7 years in the circus of that and was not getting any results. And I was on 33 meds and didn't feel better. And I was about 80 pounds heavier than I am right now and felt like total crap. And they kept encouraging me to go see this guy. And I was just like, yeah, I think I'm okay. Peace out. I don't need to see another doctor. But they just kept saying, no, he's different. He's got all these weird machines and you have to experience him. And I had had three dreams up to that point, and the dream kept saying, it's time to meet Will. It's time to meet Will. And I'm like, who's Will? I'm calling my office going, is there a Will at a pastor? Or is there a conference with a Pastor Will or William or Bill or Billy? And everyone kept saying, we don't see anything. Not that we know of. And but it kept coming. And the third time, I'm still like, is there a William, a Willie, Will, Bill, Billy, anything? No, 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 no. So fast forward, here I am, Mississippi, go see this doctor. No, his name wasn't Will. But one of the first things that he did is he gave me this piece of paper. I'm hooked up to all these machines. I fill out all the paperwork. He doesn't even look at it. Then he hands me this clipboard, and when he does, it sounds like Pac-Man just died. I mean, it's like game over sound. And the doctor's like scratching his head. I could see him right now. He's like giving me this very worried look, like you don't want to see on your doctor's face as he's scratching his head in like confusion. And I was like, what is the deal? And I've never seen that before. Normally people will read what's on the paper and then there's a response, but you just touch the paper and there's a response. And so I was just like, what's on the paper? And the paper basically said, you are loved, you have a call, you have a purpose, everyone loves you, you're beautiful, like all these really flowery things. And so I'm looking at them and I don't get it. I'm like, I don't like what? What? I don't understand. And he basically says, literally, you don't agree with anything on the paper. Your body is rejecting it. And I could have crawled like in the floor and hid. Like I just was so embarrassed. I did not want to tell him what I did for a living, and I was praying to God he would not ask me what I did for a living, because how terrible would it be to say, "Oh, I teach this all over the world and I have been for 17 years, but look at me, I don't represent this at all, and I don't even believe it about me." How bad is that? Like not being the best rep for Christ or God or love or whatever you call this. And yeah, I was fully prepared to just, if he asked, I was going to be like, I'm a pro bowler or a photographer. Anything but represent God. And so he didn't ask me, thank goodness. But I said, what do I do? Like, how do I fix this? And he was like, give me the paper. So he takes the clipboard back, he writes something on the top, and then he gives it back to me. And when he does, all the machines are fine, everybody's good. I was like, what did you do? What's going on? And I look and there's no difference on the paper except for two words at the top, I and will. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And he was like, I want you to get in the mirror, look at your eyeballs, make eye contact, and I want you to say, I will that I am beautiful, I will that I have a purpose, I will that I'm loved. Go through the whole paper and then train your body until you believe it, until it's real to you. Because he said your will is 400,000 times stronger than your spirit, and you can actually override your will. As I'm sitting there, I'm literally all of a sudden hearing, it's time to meet Will. And I was like, oh, okay. So everything's sort of like connected at that point. And I realized there was something in the subconscious that obviously didn't agree with anything on the paper. And how in the world would I get to the point where I could believe those things on the paper? Like, besides doing what he said, staring at the mirror and doing the whole mantra thing, that really opened up my eyes to be like, I get to remember who I am in God, in love, in action, and love myself. And not just talk about loving myself, but actually really love myself, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I'm very fascinated by the word will because I think what you're talking about, right, could be described as affirmations. So somebody might say, I am, etc. But it said, the doctor wrote, I am will. And you said that will is stronger than your spirit, and the will can actually override the spirit, correct? Could we expand on that a little bit more so that the listeners really fully understand that? What's the significance of the word will in addition to I am?
First of all, it's interesting that you're bringing this up in the timing of this, because I was just watching a little bit of a study last night on the internet, and choose to remember, I think I saved it. It might be on my Instagram today, but it talks about willpower, and it talks about a certain part of the brain that is bigger on some people than it is for other people. And they're calling it the willpower area. And they're seeing that it's bigger in like athletes and other people who have had to overcome challenges that they did the things even though they didn't necessarily feel it, but they did it without the feeling until it was a muscle that was like used enough to actually make themselves believe it. And it enlarges with practice. The other thing that I was looking up into is how alcohol and marijuana, to be specific, will actually turn off all the creativity within the brain, except for one little part that makes us think that we have creativity, just with the other part, and it completely turns off will. And the guy was saying things like, just go get around someone who smokes or drinks a bunch, and you're going to see there's absolutely no will at all, like to make decisions or actually decide anything or give a care. And so I say all that, and there's a lot of science to entities with those things anyway, on conscious level and on biofeedback, it'll show. But going back, if spirit is that little voice, big voice, depending on how loud you hear it, and or synchronicities that we keep creating to magnify back to us to show us the way, because everything that we need or require is within and it's radiating out and coming back to us as a gift. If it's a negative pattern, it's a gift to make a new choice. If it's a positive pattern, it's to show us we're on the right track. And with if you have a voice that's telling you to do something and everything on the outside and everything even on the inside is just like, wow, no way. But that little part of your brain that you may be able to get bigger by just going, it sucks and it's going to be hard and everyone will hate this but me. But I'm going to be sponsored because I'm going to take this road, and because I will it, and my will can and your will can override that voice. So even the little voice could say, go do this, and you're like, no, I'm going to go do this anyway. And you can override it. But when you're aligning with God's will, that is the little voice, just bigger. And or sometimes we have those little voices that aren't God at all, but it's just like the subconscious or some sort of program that we heard, oh, you'll never make it, you suck, you tried that last time and it didn't work. Because we got those voices too, right? So it's whose voice is louder, who are we going to turn down, who are we going to turn up, and identifying who's who in the zoo with all the with all the voices in there, if that makes sense.
I'm trying hard to understand everything you're saying. It does make sense to me, but I want to clarify for the listeners and also for myself. It sounds like it goes beyond affirmations, right? So, for example, someone could say, I am beautiful. Even though they don't believe that they're beautiful, they can repeat it certain number of times. At least the science behind affirmations is if you repeat something enough times, your brain will start to believe, your body, everything will start to believe that you are in fact beautiful. But what it sounds like you're saying from the will part, especially using the example about will within athletes and their brain and everything, it sounds if you're trying to do something that maybe your belief system doesn't believe that you can do it, your your body is reacting in a way that's saying you can't do it. The will is a command to go for it regardless. It sounds, I don't want to say an immediate shift, but it sounds like a more hardware reset that's supposed to be faster than the typical affirmations. And I'm trying to make it make sense, but let me know if I'm understanding what you've been describing.
Separate it all from affirmations, because in this particular specific situation, he was using affirmations saying, I want you to say, I will that I am beautiful. I will that I am, because he wanted my will to take over in those areas. And separately, you can like have, like my daughter wanted to be cheerleader. She'd never taken gymnastics. She was like fifth grade. I think it was fifth grade. Or no, she was 13, however old you are. And who am I to say, oh, you're not going to make cheerleader? That's crazy. Although some parents would say that, and maybe even her friends would say that, if she heard that little voice in there that said, go try out for cheerleader, and she did believe it or she didn't believe it, she could just still go out and try, and her will could take over and she could make it with that entrainment of just making that choice and choosing no matter what's around her, no matter what's inside, of just building that muscle of the willpower. And also, sometimes our own voices, our own subconscious, our own trauma, our own ancestral garbage can like surface fears, doubts, and you can either succumb to those things and go, yeah, you're right, I suck, and just never try. Or sometimes there's those voices that are like maybe angels, maybe God, maybe your higher self, call it whatever, maybe UFOs, I don't know. But when something's in there that's saying, you got this, you should try this, you should move to Germany, you should call your mom, you should whatever, those whatever whoever that is in you, most of us can know the difference at this. By a certain age, you get to that point where like, that's the shitty voice and this is the good voice. And I know there's been cartoons and different things that show like that angel and the devil, maybe in some ways, but I don't really see it like that. But kind of in a picture-esque thing, if you want to break it down that little. But so willpower can override God. You can actually, God could be like, do not go with that guy down the road to the date. And you don't listen to yourself. You don't listen to that fear, because fear can actually be good too. You can have this weird, uncomfortable feeling and be like, I don't think I should go with that guy. But you think I'll look bad, or he'll think I don't like him, or he'll think that I'm nervous, or my friends might not think I'm cool if I don't go, whatever. And then you could go and something terrible could happen like that. Because all the people who are on like Dateline and FBI shows and all that, they'll tell you, I had this gnawing feeling that I shouldn't have went with that dude and I did, or that woman, or it shouldn't have blah blah blah. And so fear doesn't have to be good or bad. It's not about that. It's more about the voice to me, is who is saying it. What's the vibe of it? Is it to warn you because it's a discerning thing that's trying to caution you about, or is it a thing because you need encouragement? Encouragement. Is it a thing for direction because you're going to have some synchronicity or a meetup? Is it a thing to program your own self-conscious into regulating that it's normal to love yourself through I am statements, or remembering the frequency of love and alignment with God, who is source? So there's a lot of different things that I choose to know if I'm even making sense, but willpower
Yeah.
is a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna have to sit with it a little bit more because maybe I'm over complicating it in my head. But I think the fact that you stepped into the understanding of will before you met those beings who told you about the power of living in your highest truth, it what I'm hearing, because you also just talked about you can use your willpower for either your highest good, highest potential, or your more lower potential and go in the direction that is not meant for you. So it's like an alignment of your willpower and your highest truth and kind of merging both of those so that you can live on your highest timeline and the life that is most intended for you to live, to truly live.
You said it way better than me. Is aligning your will with God's will in action, despite anything external or anything even internal or anything even ancestral. Because like I just had this conversation with my daughter. There were things that my dad was like, do not do any of these things. And I named three of them that I told her that he was just like, that this is going to be so bad if you do these things. And they have been the best thing that I ever did in my life. Like they have been, there's been so much fruit. It's opened up so much doors. I had a scream in my heart, do this, to go this way. And it was sucky to have to look my dad in the face and be like, I appreciate your advice so much. And also I'm getting the total opposite direction here. And I wanted to respect him, but also it was my life, and maybe a test. Maybe I was testing myself to see if I would like not be manipulated, but if I would listen and be obedient to that voice. Because my daughter's in this situation right now too, where she's getting to make some choices and she doesn't want to let me down or her dad down. And my advice to her was like, dude, you're going to be 18 in a few months and you have to follow your heart. It may not be what I think. Like, don't. Don't listen to me. Like, you are the only one who knows you. And I'll support whatever that is, even though if you leave, I'll be sad. Or if you go to college here, it's like we get to put our kids first, and we get to help them remember what their highest is too. And even though I'm gonna miss the shit out of her if she leaves, it's like, if I can't even teach that to my kids, then why am I even living my life the way I am just to teach her something different? So that literally happened right before we got on this call.
Wow. So willpower really is about immediately shifting your reality internally, and then it manifests in the real world. And if you are in alignment with God's intention for you, your highest intention, and you're also taking action towards it, then again, you're on the right path. You're not limiting yourself. And as you were talking, what popped into my head for will was, so I got this like, without interference, limitation, or liability. That's what
Whoa.
came out to me.
Without interference,
Limitation
Jason,
or liability.
that's deep, dude. Super deep. Yeah, that's really deep.
So that's what screamed out to me because I again, I think that you using athletes again to describe or set up what you were talking about at the very beginning, I thought about powerful athletes like Michael Jordan. Like when he first started basketball, nobody would have ever thought he would be one of the greatest basketball players. I think he was actually one of the, I don't want to say the worst, but nowhere close to being the greatest. I don't think a lot of people saw potential in him. And look at what he became.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have stories that way.
Like Abraham Lincoln,
Yes.
and you can go probably with musicians or KFC who got told 103 times that his recipe was crap. And he was just like, something must have been in there to have that. Either that or he has a big old willpower brain. That's because, dude, I'm going. This is my life. I'm doing this. I'm all in. That's commitment. And when we commit, it comes. The word commit. And if we screw up, then we recommit, and we bring it back. But going back to what you said, with repetition and with desire, we tend to manifest easier, because if we actually truly have feelings and meaning in our words or our thoughts, and that's combined with feeling, we get a faster manifestation, good or bad. Meaning someone could say, they're attacking me, and they really mean it. Guess what? They're going to get attacked. Cancel clear. And or if you just say, I can't, I just can't, cancel clear, you'll prove yourself right.
Yeah. And
And
that, and
you'll keep getting things to show up in your realm to prove that you can't, you know?
it just shows how powerful we are as individuals and how the world is really a reflection of our inner world. Like the external world is really a reflection of our inner world. And if we realize how much power we had in that, I think a lot of our lives would look very different. And I know it's easier said than done. And I like that you gave the disclaimer about if you think someone is attacking you and you are in resonance, mind, body, spirit, then that's what you're going to see in your external world. Because, of course, people who are listening to this, right, when we talk about following your highest truth, going back a little bit to the beginning of what we're talking about, following your highest truth, someone could say, my highest truth right now is that I'm super angry and I want to punch the person in the face that's making me angry. And if I hold myself back, is that me not following my highest truth? What would you say to that?
I don't think, I think if there's harm involved with other people, then there's a line that's crossed for sure, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
think once you start breaking laws and or doing any harm, not just physically, but even like electronically or mentally or spiritually, that is going against some major boundaries energetically. Because when you put something out on the internet, to the level that you put it out is the level you'll get it back. And there's scripture about that. To the measure that you give ear to that is the measure you give back. So you could talk shit about someone, someone's going to talk shit about you. And And if you put it on the digital, you've read my book, the digital world right now is giving manifestation a whole new level because instantly someone can post something on there, even if it's about themselves or about someone else, and there's immediate agreement with however many friends you have and also how many friends they have. So it gives more energy to the statement that you make or the image that you make. Like people will put pictures of someone in the hospital with tubes coming out everywhere or something. And they're like, oh, pray for my friend Johnny or whatever. And they show him in the worst condition. Guess what? The imagery of that holds him to that space. Times every person who saw that and all of their friends, instead of putting a very good image of him in his best day and say, please envision Johnny in his best, send prayers, blah, blah, blah. And then we hold that image. That is amazing power there through imagery. And there's so much science behind that. So going back to punching someone in the face, any kind of harm, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, or even in your mind, because you can shit talk someone in your mind and you're still affecting them over there because of entanglement. Anything you focus on will get bigger, and your limbic system cannot tell the difference between what's really happening and what you give someone else versus whether it's money or a judgment. If I think something bad about someone, literally my body receives it as I'm thinking that about me, and all the chemicals release that that's me because there is no them, where everyone is just me pushed out anyway. Anything I do or think about anyone or write down about anyone or do bodily harm to anyone, it's going to ricochet so fast. And I mean, and it's getting faster and faster as we speak because there's more energy on the planet and there's more emotion on the planet. And if you put repetition and emotion and then added the collective to it, boom, we're manifesting so fast, good or bad, all the time, faster than ever.
So I love that you said that, right? Because I think it's important for people to understand that if your intentions or your highest truth in the moment is going to cause harm to other people or cause harm to yourself, self-sabotage, that's really not in your highest alignment. So you probably want to stay clear of that. But to your point about, for example, people are manifesting a lot faster online because once you put out imagery out there, whether good or bad, you have a collective of people holding that energy for you, right? So it comes back faster. It comes to you faster, good or bad. But, you also talked about in your mind, if you may not judge someone verbally or say it out loud or post it online, just the fact that you have those thoughts could also, that energy still goes out into the world. It has a ripple effect. But the truth is, we're human beings. So, of course, even the best of us get annoyed by people very often. You know what I mean? Someone could step on your shoe by accident. Somebody could just be super rude to you. And of course, you're going to think, wow, this person is who they are. You're not going to have nice words to say to them. How can we not be super anxious over all the thoughts that we have? Because we're being bombarded with thoughts all the time. And sometimes we pick up thoughts that are not ours. Like when I'm in a crowd of people, I might start having thoughts that I'm like, where did this come from? This doesn't even seem like something I'd be thinking about, but yet it's in my head. Or I start to feel bad about myself because the people I'm around feel bad about themselves. So how do we make sure that we're not being super anxious or overwhelmed by the quote unquote negative thoughts that we're having?
That's such a great question. For me, I try to be aware of being aware, and I try to sift through the voices. And if I envision, and I think I talked about this in the book, if I'm standing on top of a hill in front of a car and I and it's a manual, not an automatic, and you take it out of the shift and that car starts to go down the hill, you could probably stop it like up here. But if you're down here and the car gets out of shift, by the time the momentum comes down, I mean, it's not a good deal. So if we are aware of what we are aware of, meaning our thoughts, our words, our feelings, everything we're putting out, everything that's coming in, all of our five senses and more. I'm sure I mean, people say there's up to 16 senses, but then we can be like gatekeepers in a way to stop it before it gets too much. And the best way that I have been able to deal with my own thoughts, because I was on autopilot for 25 years, the first maybe 30 years of my life, where I didn't even know what I was thinking until I sat down and I kept hearing the voice, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And I would stop myself and go, oh, what am I thinking? And then I would catch myself thinking like the dumbest stuff, like things that did not matter. I heard whatever's beautiful, whatever's good news, what is good report, think on these things. That's what I heard. And I was like, so then I started driving down the road and I would hear, what are you thinking? And I'd be like, oh, I was thinking about this. Is that good news? Is that good report? Oh, crap. And so at first I would start saying, oh, don't think about that. And I would try to make myself not think about it. I would resist it. But I realized the more I tried not to think about it, energy doesn't know the difference. And energy would be like, this must be really important because she's trying so hard not to think about it that we're going to just keep it right there because it it's the same thing. If not thinking about it and thinking about it is still thinking about it. So then I realized replacing it is faster. If I have, not if, but I have a few mantras that I have in my holster at all time. I say holster because I pictured myself like some kind of digital love cowboy with these decrees at my side. Anytime something comes in, I'm just like prepared in action to be like, God is the only power and presence acting here, or I am my permanent victory in the light, or only God touches me, only God sees me, only God hears. Whatever, make up your thing. I am divine love. I radiate light. I shine light. Yeah, I usually have three, and my three are God is the only power and presence acting here. And then only God touches me, only God sees me, only God feels me, only God hears me. And then I am the ascended Jesus Christ, permanent love and victory, already attained in my, only victorious in my marriage and my purpose, and fill in the blank on that part. Meaning I just radiate love all the time. Nothing can come in except for love. Nothing can talk to me except for love. Only love will hear me, meaning I'm going to say something and they're going to hear exactly what love would say, not make up their own thing of what they thought I said and then be like, no, you said this. No, this is what I said. And that's what I meant. Because if I replace instead of try to push away, then I have something to focus on. And when I have something to focus on, the word discipline comes from disciple. And when we are disciples and discipline of our mind, and I am the mind of Christ, and I think only the things that Christ would think about, and I say only the things that Christ would think about, and I believe everything that Christ would believe, whatever that is, then, and that's my truth, and I'm alive in that, I be alive in that, my belief, then whatever comes from then is going to be the fruit of those beliefs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when the car starts coming, if I'm not aware, too late. Boom. But if I stay in my awareness as much as I possibly can, the minute it creeps in, and it especially seems to happen at night, right when I'm going to bed. Like, I don't know about you, but when it's quiet, that's when I hear my dog barking, sorry. When it's quiet, that's when I tend to ruminate on what I'm going to do tomorrow. What should I have said to that lady? What do I do about this situation? Like all the A, B, C, D, E, F, G scenarios that could be there that I'm worried about for no reason that could probably never happen, but I'm making up all the shit. And instead, stop. God is the only power and presence here. And if I have to say it 100 times until I finally sleep, then at least I'm going to sleep to something that's programming my subconscious to expect miracles and have a victorious result instead of creating something by default.
Beautiful. Is that why you say that we're gods in action?
Yes, God in action is a miracle.
Mm,
And I think that miracles can only be God in action, meaning us creating, co creating action with God, whoever God is, he, she, it, they, them, electronic, frequency, sound, universe, call it whatever feels good to you. There's something out there that made us, although there's people who believe there isn't. I think there is, but that's just me.
so we could literally live a life that's filled with miracles and not just one-off events, but we could be the walking embodiment of God's miracle, not to sound cliche.
100%.
Mm.
Little to big to little to multiple a day. I taught a course on what day is it? Today is Tuesday. I taught a course on Saturday, and it was maybe 150 people. And I've already had 40 people contact me and tell me miracles that they had from it. A matter of fact, what's hilarious, do you ever watch The Office? Have you ever seen that?
I've seen so many clips of it, and I know that I would love it, but I haven't actually sat down to watch the whole series.
The David Wallace is the boss of Michael Carell, or Steve Carell, I mean, Michael in The Office, and he's a friend of ours. And he found out I was coming to LA for this conference I was teaching, and he had read my book and he wanted to meet up and me sign his book and just us chill out and talk and stuff and meet my husband. And we met like a year ago at a Matchbox 20 concert, another miracle. And so here I am like going, this guy wants to meet it. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I like love this guy. Their show got me through cancer. Like, I laughed so hard and I watched it over and over and over and got me through like breakups and death. And it still is like a pickup for me, like emotionally, physically, mentally, chemistry wise. And so for him to want my book signed, and I've watched him for all these years. Anyway, I'm like, I teach my class. We're going to meet up after. There's a little Starbucks down in the hotel, and my husband picks like the table closest to the door. And I'm like, we can't sit here. If he sits here, people are going to come up all day wanting his autograph. He's very noticeable, tall man, 6'2" or something, and he's on a lot of movies and shows. Like he's not gonna be private at all. And but yeah, he came and I said we can move, and then he was like, no, this is cool, and I'm like, okay. So we stayed, and while we were there, people kept coming to tell me their miracles. And which was like, oh, I got to tell you, blah, blah, blah. And like he was just sitting there, and I'm like thinking they're coming to talk to him, and they were coming to tell me about miracles. And I've had several since then, to the point where he was like, maybe I should have went to your meeting. It sounds like you had a really good time, and that kind of stuff, which was also a miracle to me because I didn't even know if anyone would show up for this meeting that I was doing, let alone this guy show up to want my book signed, like someone that I really look up to. So it can be super fun, and the most unexpected situations can happen. Like I did not ever wake up a year ago and go, I'm going to be in LA at Starbucks with David Wallace and he's going to want my book signed and people are going to want me to sign their books. And you can't make this stuff up. All I've done is God is the only power presence acting here and outcome mapping my future to win-wins and victory and miracles and things like that. And it's fun to get the reports. I always tell people who read the book, please let me know report your miracles to me. And I love that people actually do, because I get to hear all the time like the fruit of what they're doing, applying these tools in their own life and seeing these great results. And I like feel so like excited that the world is changing and we can get to this tipping point where everyone's in miracles all the time.
How would you define miracles to the listeners? Because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Because someone could be listening to this and thinking, oh, a miracle is a like once in a while occurrence. What does she mean that your life could be filled with miracles?
Yeah, miracles to me can mean life. I mean, I'm literally, how long have we been sitting here? And neither of us had to tell our heart to beat. We're not like, dude, keep beating, okay? Keep going. We're not we're not consciously regulating our temperature of our body or making our blood flow. Right now, we're both healing. Everyone who's listening is healing and their heart's beating and they're breathing in and out. And until I read this book by Og Mandino about the miracle of life, I don't think I would have had so much gratitude about life. But there's so much resistance to even getting born. Like the chances of any of us even being here right now in this season, in this time at all, or even made it to Earth in this Earth suit at all, is so slim to be alive at all. And I mean, I really had a death wish. I had a few. Like, I tried to kill myself. Like, I did not like being here. I had zero F's about being here until I read that book and I was like, dude, I'm here for a reason. There
Yeah.
must be some reason why we're here. Like, what people say, go big or go home. I say, stay home and go freaking big. Like,
Mm,
let's do this. So, miracles can be just life. Miracles can be synchronicities. Meeting an actor that you really freaking love and he wants you to sign his book. Like, what? You know, the book that I wrote that he bought off Amazon. I didn't even give him, you know what I mean? That's weird, but cool. And, or finding money in your pocket or getting a check in the mail or meeting the love of your life or running into someone that you haven't talked to in 20 years or just thinking about someone and then the thought of them, they call you 10 minutes later. Or even me and you having some conversations that literally I just read about willpower last night and I just had that thing with my daughter. So that was all stepping stones for me to talk about this today and for somebody to hear it that needs it. Like synchronicities are huge to me as far as miracles go. What is your definition? I'm curious.
honestly, my definition of miracles are the constant synchronicities that I see throughout the day, no matter how little they are. For example, I'm really big on seeing number synchronicities, and they change depending on the season that I am in my life. And I've been seeing a lot of repeating ones and threes. So 1033, 1133, 133. So every single time I see it, when I'm not even thinking about it, I'm like, it feels like a miracle to see that. So that's how I would define miracles, but I also love how you just defined it. And I'm going to adopt that definition as well, which is just life itself is a miracle. The fact that we're sitting here, we're not telling our heart to beat, we're able to breathe freely, we're having such an amazing, beautiful conversation. And our intention is to continue to spread light and love into the world. So this conversation in and of itself is a miracle, right? Because of all the actions we've taken to lead us to this point. So I love what you said, and I'm glad that I asked that question because I almost didn't. In your book and in the work that you do, and you alluded to this in the conversation as well, you talk a lot about the need to not judge, the need to release judgment. And I love what you said earlier in the conversation and also in your book. It's like sometimes you're judging someone because you're actually judging yourself. And a lot of the things I've grown in and released judgment in are the same things I release judgment in for myself. So I know that when I'm elevating my consciousness and I'm developing more compassion for myself in certain areas, I realize that I am no longer judgmental to people who are doing things that I would be hard on myself for doing or thinking about in the past. So I could see how there's really no separation. Like the more you judge others, you're really just judging yourself. But anyways, I just want you to speak on that some more and how does releasing judgment help us to stay in our highest path?
Yes. So, first of all, one upgrade to the word release. To release means to pay for something that you don't own. So to lease it again. So I like to use the word because people will say, "Oh, I'm releasing weight," and I'm like, So I like to transmute. That's a word I don't know if that fits perfectly, but better than paying for something over and over again that you don't and will never own. But so there's two things about judgment. There is the electronic version, and then there's also the hormonal physiology of it, which is also electronic in a sense, because the truth will set you free. And when we follow the truth, there is a radiation that goes into the field that will go out, but it also magnetizes. So anytime we live in truth and follow truth and be true and embody truth and talk about truth and choose truth, that is the radiation, but also the magnet. So you keep getting more true things, more true partnership, more true collaborations, more true maybe business opportunities or new friends that are actual loyal collaborators, not takers. And so there's the sense of that living in the not judging, because anything that so the limbic system can't tell the difference between you or me. It cannot tell the difference. If I gave you something, I register it as I gave myself something. That's why it feels so amazing when we do give, even if it's here's $10 to a stranger, or here's some clothes that I don't really wear, but I know you need them. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I always get a high. I'm just like, I usually am like flying away, going, look, what's so fun? I want to do more of that. And I've given away 7 cars, literally. I've given away lots of stuff. And then ended up winning a car after that. I like gave away 7 cars to people that I knew did not have a way to do it. And then I won a Mercedes, which I don't even like Mercedes, and I ended up selling it because I'm like, what am I going to do with the Mercedes? That's not me at all. And I bought a Jeep. But the limbic system can't tell the difference between judgment. So again, if I say something, or if I think something or do anything in a judgment way, the brain registers at the brain will register, hey, you just did this to yourself. There are hormonal negative fight or flight chemicals that saturate the entire body, cancel clear. And when we saturate in those things, it weakens the immune system, grays our hair, dehydrates the body, suppresses immune system, causes us to gain weight, because when we're in fight or flight, everything, all the energy goes to the limbs because it thinks we need to run, but we really don't need to run. And so we don't digest our food and just sits there longer, and then we end up gaining weight. So judgment is weird. Judging people, and our body can't telling the difference between judging people or judging ourselves, is one thing. That's a chemistry thing. The other part is the mirroring thing that you were talking about, where a lot of times the very thing we don't like about someone is because we do the exact same thing. And it is getting also faster. Meaning, I had a thing yesterday, and I talk about this in my book, where I like was really annoyed by someone, and I was just like, oh my God, this person is so daggum annoying. And I literally was like trying so hard to be delicate and not judgmental, but respond in a way where she got my point, but I wasn't a bitch, if that makes sense. And literally within a half an hour, someone was doing that to me. And I was like, oh shit, that's me doing that because I did that over here. It literally is so fast. It's so fast because it leaks in the field, and there's a vibe, and the vibe is magnetic. So just as fast as we put something out there electronically, we're going to get almost an instant match, especially if there's feelings involved, because feelings are the biggest magnet. And if you're really annoyed by something, you're going to get it so fast. Because again, we are manifesting faster, not just because of the speed of the collective and the speed of the frequency on that planet, but because desire and emotions are so high. And when we have the combination of specificity with feelings, you're going to get a faster response. And so we got to be careful. That's where those guards really come in, where we're just like aware, 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 aware. Do I type that? Do I respond? Do I just time myself up and go hide myself in the bedroom and call a friend and be like, help me not respond to this jerk on this troll, whatever bothers you. I don't know. But I'm sure you get those troll people too, right? I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I've gotten one or two, maybe a little bit more than one or two. Yeah, I've definitely gotten some trolls, and I'm funny because, or I'm weird because sometimes I'll laugh at it because the comments are so ridiculous, and I'm like, LOL. That's so funny. I find it quite amusing, not in a judgmental, condescending way. Ha ha ha, I think you're weird. I genuinely think it's funny because I'm like, are they being for real? But I also understand that, and we don't have to talk about this now because, of course, we can go down many rabbit holes. But I always like to give this caveat because there's nuance to everything. And sometimes when people are listening to this, there will be like, okay, what about moments where it's important for you to speak up for yourself? Because there are moments where you should speak up for yourself. And if you continue to hold that in, it's actually
Kind of.
working against you. So we're not talking about those situations. So just want to
Yeah,
give
we're not saying be like
a doormat. Yeah.
yeah, just don't let people walk over you. Have
Yeah.
boundaries, but you don't
Of
have to
course.
be mean about it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, anyways, this has been a great conversation. I have to ask you one last question, which I ask all my guests, and that is, have you shifted in perspective on anything recently? And it could be as lighthearted as you want or as deep as you would like it to be.
Yeah, so I guess my shift is just in the last day again of willpower, and that because I always looked at it as almost like a spiritual thing. In the past, I always thought will was some like superpower or something that you had to make a choice, like nothing physically tangible, but now that I know that there's actually a part of the brain that is about physical willpower and how it grows depending on how many challenges we come up against and still win. So that means that there are people that literally have a winning freaking brain. These people who are class act Michael Jordans and whoever, fill in the blank of whoever you think's awesome. So that was a biggie thing for me. And then also, honestly, I think you're freaking awesome. Like the
Oh,
fact that I created you to come hang out with me and like I got to meet you and you're just so bright and radiant and what you're doing for the world and helping so many people and just using this platform for positivity, that is like, how did I meet you? I love this that we created this miracle together.
oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. That means so much to me. And every time I get to sit down with amazing people like you who, you know, clue me into another way of thinking or being or existing, I get very excited and I'm happy to be able to share that with a larger audience. So thank you for the work that you do. And I believe that this conversation is going to be very instrumental in a lot of people's lives. And if people want to continue to talk to you, reach out to you, or learn more about your work, where can they find you?
Yes, you can go to drsharnel.com. Matter of fact, I just uploaded a free course for anyone who wants to join. If you go to my website, drsharnel.com, there should be, if everything worked out, a pop-up that comes up that basically says, hey, do you want to take this free course on clearing trauma and understanding the human body? You put in your email and it's going to give you like an automatic email that has the class in it. But there's tons of other classes on there. I have a lot of teachings that are free as well. I have my podcast that's every Thursday at 7. I mean, I'm sorry, it used to be at 7, it's at noon now. We have a lot of cool people that are fun. And actually, David Wallace was on with us from The Office. That was fun. But yeah, we have actors and actresses and authors and speakers and energy people and Bigfoot people and UFO people and we talk about pretty much anything. But yeah, and also I do biofeedback with people. My books are there. I do soul audits. I also work with people one on one because since that encounter that I had, I have somehow been able to have this ability to listen just a few minutes to people and find people's snag, and then we clear it through language and or like just steering them in a different direction mentally and belief system wise, and deprogram and reprogram people and shift them into their miracles. And that's what I did at the workshop Saturday. And like I said, I already had 40 people respond back with some pretty big stuff like money coming back that someone owed them forever, partnership, estranged relationships back, things that like in their mind would never have happened and they're happening. And I love working with people one on one with that. And then I also have a course that I'm teaching on the 2nd of March about that, but I'm going to do it online if this airs by then. But yeah, and I see that you have a lot of books back there. You
A
look
lot
so,
of, yeah, I do. A lot of them I still need to read, but at this point I'm just hoarding them. But yes, I have a little mini library here.
you're quite the teacher yourself. I see you teaching and writing your own stuff if you haven't already.
Yeah, no, I haven't already. It's interesting that writing keeps coming up because I'm like, I've never seen myself as a writer, but I've been getting that a lot recently. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is God speaking through you guys, and I need to pay more attention and start taking
I'll
action.
write your endorsement. Just hit me up when you're ready.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Dr. Charnel. Thank you for stopping by Shifting Dimensions.